All right, let's try this recording for the second time, seeing that the first one got deleted when my computer died. That's a bummer. Temperate rainforest. We've started this in all three classes. We've kind of gotten to a varying different places in all three classes, and that's okay. Temperate rainforest. They are rainforests. So one thing that we wrote down on the anchor chart about temperate rainforest is it rains a lot. Does it rain as much as a tropical rainforest? No, but does it rain more than it does in other places? Absolutely. It rains quite a bit. You do not need to know the latitude and longitude. That's just in here for notes. But the temperate rainforest is one of the biomes that we are going to study. It rains about 60 to 200 inches each year. Some of the rain, they actually get 7 to 12 inches of rain from fog. And I know it seems weird that happens, but I've been camping before and woke up to like water dripping on me. And I thought that it was raining outside. I'm like, but I have the rain fly on. How is this happening? Fog was like rolling through the area. It was collecting on the screen on my tent and then dripping on my face, which was not a lot of fun, but it was better than my tent getting soaking wet because we could deal with that. It does get pretty foggy up in Boone at times. But again, 7 to 12 inches of rain each year from fog is pretty wild. Again, temperate rainforest, not tropical. It is cooler. They have mild weather. I think that's the second thing I wrote on the anchor chart, Clara. I'm looking at the anchor chart. Temperate rainforest, rains a lot. Mild weather is the second thing that we have on there. They have 2 distinct seasons. They are not like the deciduous forest with 4 seasons. They have 2 seasons, long wet winters and short dry summers. Long wet winters and short dry summers is what we see in the tropical rainforest. Temperate rainforest. Apologies. Temperate rainforest. One of the main plants that you will see there, Paisley, is moss. I think moss is one of our vocabulary words from this week that's got like a paragraph long definition. We'll shorten that up before we get to the quiz for this week, which will be on Thursday. Can we take the quiz Friday? No, we cannot because we won't be here. So we're going to take the quiz Thursday. I feel comfortable doing that. Of all the quizzes that we could have, I'm fine, Noah, with it being this one because almost every word on there, minus like 1 or 2 maybe, were like old words, right? There's like nothing on there this week that's going to really be that difficult. There are spruce trees and hemlocks and other conifers. There's that word, other evergreen trees that grow in the temperate rainforest. I think a lot of trees grow here because it has enough water to support that many trees. The reason why you see so many mosses and ferns, they are also plants that need a lot of moisture in order to survive. And so it's important that we know that it rains a lot in the temperate rainforest. Sometimes trees fall over. When we watch the video of this today, you will see this, and other trees and plants start to grow from those. They call those nurse logs. We'll see that in the video this afternoon, which will be pretty neat. Temperate rainforest animals. Now, I see the banana slug, and I know that the banana slug has very special adaptations, but it is an animal that needs a lot of moisture. You're going to find quite a few reptiles here. You're going to see a lot of mushroom growth, decomposers. The banana slug is a decomposer. We know that fungi and mushrooms are decomposers as well. You'll see cougars and bobcats, owls, squirrels, obviously living, a lot of small animals that live in the temperate rainforest, but one that is extremely important. And Jace, if I was doing the project that's coming up and I drew the rainforest, this is one of the animals that I would draw inside, and it's down here at the bottom. It is the elk. Elk are the keystone species for the rainforest. They have a very special niche that they occupy. And when I tell you what their job is, you're going to say, Mr. Bowens, that sounds like a very weird job. Listen, the prairie dog's job was to eat grass, right? And just by eating grass, they became one of the most important animals in the prairie, in the grasslands of America. Elk are very similar. They're very big animals. Their job, their niche is to walk around and stomp all the ground down really flat and eat plants. That's their job. So Joanna's looking at me like, Mr. Bulls, that doesn't sound very important. Like lots of animals stomp around the forest and eat plants. Because the elk are so big and they trample the ground so much and they eat quite a bit of plants, they keep the forest thinned out. If the elk were not there, the rainforest would overgrow and become a thicket and things would start to die, would not be able to survive. So again, we've talked about the elk and how it seems weird, again, for the folks that are at home watching, it seems weird to say that a niche and how they're a keystone, they're so important, is to walk around, like stomp the plants down and to eat a lot. But again, if they didn't do that, the forest would become unbalanced. We know that the carrying capacity of the plants would grow larger than it should be, and the forest would become a thicket. So again, yes, just eating is important. I'm not going to, subject the people at home to a long, lengthy talk about banana slugs. Banana slugs would be probably another animal that I would put inside of my temperate rainforest. They are decomposers. They're a very unique decomposer, right? We've talked about bacteria, fungi, and worms all year long, but I think I would put a banana slug in my picture of the temperate rainforest, and somewhere in my sentence and paragraph about the temperate rainforest, I would probably start talking about how decomposers break down things and turn it back into nutrients and good soil. And the one that I would do for this would be the banana slug because they are very unique. All right, moving on from the temperate rainforest, we have the tropical rainforest where it rains a lot, a ton. The temperate rainforest, still raining an absolute ton, 200 inches a year, to a place where it doesn't rain much at all. Now listen, I know that there are a lot of different deserts that are out there. We're going to mostly focus on the hot deserts that we think about because they even talk about, look up here, Paisley, that Antarctica is the largest desert in the world. Wait a minute, Mr. Bullens, that we studied that was the tundra, but it's also one of the driest places in the world. So again, they're kind of like double dipping there on the biomes there. We're going to look at the hot deserts. So when I think about the deserts, it's hot, it's dry, and the soil is not very good because it's sand. That's like one of the first things, Colin, that I wrote down. Desert, hot, dry, not good soil. The sun is very, very intense. If you are going to live in the desert, if you are a plant or an animal, you have to be able to adapt to not having access to a lot of water. You have to adapt to the intense sunlight and the amount of heat, how hot it can be. Because living in the desert, it's hot and it is dry. That's the very most important thing we're going to think about that. Again, the seasons, it basically kind of boil down to two seasons, hot and dry seasons that we have there. During the winter, they do get a little bit of rain. When I say winter, we're not talking like it's 40 degrees outside. It's still hot. Rain is often light, and it doesn't rain for long periods of time. Now, Knox, here's the one bad thing about the desert, because it is so hot. When it does rain, sometimes the rain doesn't even get to stay on the sand very long because it evaporates before it has time to be absorbed by anything because it's so hot. So it's almost like why bother, right? Why bother? I mean, I was like, if you were to eat pizza and then throw up immediately, like, what's the point? You're not getting you're getting no nutrition out of that. You would need to eat something else that didn't make you throw up immediately. So it's almost like, what's the point? Why bother raining? Well, some of it gets absorbed because plants have adapted. For example, the cactus has roots that are not very deep at all, but they're spread very, very, very far out in a large radial circle around them so that they can absorb as much water that hits the ground as possible. The Atacama Desert is very odd. The Atacama Desert that you see there at the bottom, they get 1 millimeter of rain every 5 to 20 years. 1 millimeter of rain. That is not a lot of rain every 5 to 20 years. I'm going to imagine there's not a lot of stuff living in the Atacama Desert with such a lack of rain. Plants have adapted. I think the most important plant that we can think of is probably the cactus in the desert, right? It has a waxy coating so it doesn't go through transpiration. We just talked about how the cactus has those widespread roots so that they can absorb rain immediately, and they're able to store water inside of them, which is a very important feature that you would need to have if you were going to live inside of the desert. All right, we are going to wrap up our notes today. As you can see, we're at 50 of 55 slides with the deciduous forest. The deciduous forest. What makes the deciduous forest so unique compared to the other biomes that we have studied? 4 seasons. And you'll notice on the anchor chart I wrote deciduous forest, and right beside that, 4 seasons. What do deciduous trees do as part of their adaptations? And we're about to see this happen. Clara. They lose their leaves in the fall. When I had to mow this past weekend, and hopefully that's the last time, I'm hoping the grass lies dormant. But if I mowed it pretty low, but if we know grass has a low growth point, if it grows back one more time, I might have to mow one more. I did notice a lot of leaves in the yard too. Leaves are starting to fall off some trees. Many leaves are now starting to change their color. We're heading into the month of October, which is typically when we think of fall and the deciduous trees losing their leaves. Now listen, in a deciduous forest, is it as hot as it is in the desert? Colin, is it as cold as it is in the tundra in the deciduous forest? No, it's in between, right? Do we get as much rain as a temperate or a tropical rainforest? No. Do we get as little rain as a desert? No, it's in between. And you'll notice on the anchor chart, I said we have moderate rain, moderate temperatures, and really good soil. Moderate rain, moderate temperatures, and really good soil. Deciduous forest, 4 seasons. Deciduous trees lose their leaves in the fall. Moderate rain, moderate temperatures, great soil. Animal adaptations. If you're an animal, you have to adapt to the 4 seasons. Many animals gain and lose fur. If it's the spring, they lose their winter coat. In the wintertime, they get a thick fur coat so they can survive our winters. Some animals hibernate. I know up at Beach Mountain, I would imagine the bears are starting to think about the hibernation time as we start moving to that time of year. Some animals, like the birds, they move, they migrate from season to season. So maybe they leave in the winter and they'll come back in the spring. I've seen flocks of birds over the last little bit flying. I guess it's maybe a little early, but they might be getting ready for it. Yes, sir.
Where we were up in the mountains, we had this place up there. Well, one night we were out just making roasting marshmallows, just sitting by the fire. There were these flocks of geese that went flying over, and it looked like they were making a loop just around.
Okay. All right. Well, again, we've covered deciduous forest. We've talked about the adaptations. We've talked about the moderate rain, moderate temperatures, and the big, most important thing, the 4 seasons and the trees losing their leaves. Coming to the end of our lesson on wine here, so they got to smash the like button and subscribe. I will hit